Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the SpeedyBee Bee25. Also, I'm seeing on their website they call it the SpeedyBee or Bee25 Power. But their specifications don't have a differentiating factor between Bee25 Power or Bee25. And my box, hopefully you can see it, says Bee25 Power, ELRS. If you're wanting one like I have been sent here by the manufacturer for review, maybe make sure they have all the same specifications because the website looks a little bit confusing. Out of the box, the SpeedyBee has all sorts of taped information bits around it, kind of just being careful to make sure you understand some of the different risks and how to set things up. The version that I have here, as I said, is possibly different than what you're interested in. They do have an upgrade kit that has this whole assembly being aluminum. These pieces that hold the antenna are separate, and then you have this main housing, and then everything just kind of lifts out of there, and you have that one single connector in the back. Also back here, we have a spot where we can locate a GPS, and their website does list which GPS module, I can't remember off the top of my head, that area is suited best for. Of course, our XT30 battery connection is down there mounted. You can mount points here, nice and solid. The battery looks like a limiting factor, but you can actually rotate this whole thing sideways to do what I call toilet tanking. So you would have your brackets here, and your battery would run this way. There is additional battery strap that I'll show you when I get to the accessories. But in order to rotate these metal brackets that this strap or any strap you use goes to, you do need to take out these 4 screws to get access specifically to the 2 front screws. So you can unscrew those. The 2 rear are accessible right here at the edge of my fingers. Hopefully you can see that. The all-in-one flight controller USB port is right here. Of course, it's buried within the components of the quad down here, and it is an F405, and it is a 35 amp 8-bit ESC with Bluejay pre-installed on there. Motors are SpeedyBee branded, and they are 1404 4600 kV. The props are the HQ DT 63mm tri-bladed props, and there's a little bit of shot of our innards. You can actually see right through that plastic. And I failed to mention this is a SpeedyBee flight controller, so you can use the SpeedyBee app and Bluetooth connectivity to do any sort of beta flight configuration changes that the SpeedyBee app supports, that is, without having to plug in, kind of at the field. We have accessibility for our SD card as well as our USB-C port for our O3 unit to pull off video footage, whether you're storing it locally or on the SD card itself. You could also use it for activation. They use the antenna side pieces as a little bit of an airflow to get air down to that O3 as well. Got a multicolored LED light here. Let me plug it in without a radio. Let's see how it goes. That's kind of annoying. Let me unplug and turn on the radio. And we try again. Ooh. See how it pulses around in the different colors? Of course, they have this set up to where you can control whether this is on or off by just setting a mode on your switch, all through the Betaflight configuration. Should be pretty straightforward. Without a battery, it weighs about 170.5 grams. With the Beta FPV 850, it weighs 266 grams, so we get pushed over that 250 gram limit if that's important to you. With the G&B 850, 257.5, oh dang. With the G&B 650, we do get under the 250 gram limit at 241.3. I didn't test this battery, but for weight purposes, it's also under 250 grams at 238.55. The reason why I didn't test this battery is because it's too long in this configuration, so to fly this battery or others long like it, we will need to rotate those metal brackets so we can sit the battery in there this way. They do say that this can fly with a 1100 milliamp 4S battery. Of course, that would probably be for just extra long flight time. Slow and smooth cinematic sort of flight, which is what this is designed for. Motor post to motor post, we're getting right around 120 millimeters. That carbon fiber looks to be 2.5 millimeters thick, so pretty beefy. Of course, the rest of it's plastic. Also in the box, you do get 2 kind of nice screwdrivers. You get an extra battery strap. Note this one doesn't have the buckle because you would slide that over the metal bracket and then you just kind of loop the Velcro side in. But I thought this just worked fine for the batteries I was flying. It's a nice, big, thick, elastic strap. Of course, you get the screws that you need to mount your O3 and put on your props, all that stuff. And you get a few extras, too. You do get this fold-out guide, which does come in 2 languages. Thankfully, one of them is one that I can understand, which is this one right over here. English. A certificate of conformity for the drone. Never seen that before. Oh, and we also have a QC card. Look at there. QR code for a digital user guide, I presume, because I think the other thing that folds out, that's a user guide too, right? And 1 sheet of sticker. But actually, it has several different stickers on there, so still sticker. Those of you that are familiar with the channel, you know that I tend to fly these not only in the manner they're designed, which is what we're seeing here, a nice, slow, stabilized, sort of cinematic sort of flight, as well as faster. Kind of just my preferred flight style, you know? We all have fun in different ways, and I like to run around the yard in more of a racing format with a few, let's say, modest tricks that have come into my tool bag over the course of the years. I think it's worth mentioning that they have a bunch of STL files. STL files are 3D print files that you can use for a bunch of different purposes. So if you're looking at this and you're wondering, you know, one of the questions I get all the time is, can it carry a GoPro? Yes. Most things that aren't just 1S can carry a full GoPro. You know, 2 and 3S and 4S quads can carry a GoPro. But how they carry a GoPro, especially a full, weighted, battery and all GoPro, really changes dramatically. So if you're wondering, can it carry a GoPro? Yes, it can carry a GoPro. Don't try to fly it faster, or you're going to probably break your GoPro as well as your quad. But can it carry a GoPro? Yes. But you will have to either print off one of their STL files that they have on the SpeedyBee website, or you'll need to find someone who can print it off for you so that you can have a mount, because natively, out of the box, there is no mount for the GoPro. Of course, when it comes to lighter external HD cameras, they'll be less problematic. Your flight time will stay the same, or be modified modestly depending upon the weight of the external HD camera. The impact of the flight characteristics will be changed in a much more modest or minor way. But let's knock out some flight times here. Slow flight on a 650 GNB, 6 minutes and 40 seconds on average. Few flights came in above that, few below that. On the 850, I got 8 minutes and 50 seconds on average. Few came in above that, few came in below that. Like I said, I did not fly the 720. In general, I find the 720s give about the same sort of flight time that the 650s. Of course, you could fly larger size batteries if you rotate the battery holder sideways so you can toilet tank your battery. Toilet tanking isn't something that I came up with the name. I'm sure I heard that somewhere else. I wish I could attribute that to where I heard it, but I just can't in the moment. But let's move on, because this flight obviously is going to go on for several more minutes. By the way, this is what you would see in the goggles with the goggles 3 or goggles 2. Goggles 2 is what I have. With the O3. Almost confused myself there. So you have the DVR there, you can see on screen, where you can see the throttle position where I'm flying around for the most part in the mid-20s. You can see the battery voltages, average on top of total voltage, and then you can also see the flight time in the bottom right, and then you get some goggle details below the beta flight stuff. Of course, you have a video file that's recorded directly on the O3 that does not have this information. It's clean video footage in that case. And also, for those that ask this question, almost seemingly blindly, I do not see props in view. So, no props in view. If I get that question, I'm going to know you didn't watch the video, because I've been getting that question a lot, and I think it should be apparent in the video footage whether you're seeing props in view. Maybe they're thinking I cropped it out. I guess that's valid. Okay, let's switch over to my preferred flight style. Watch this funny takeoff. Yeah, I kind of bumped the throttle inadvertently, and so I thankfully I didn't bump it really high, so it would just, you know, rocket to the moon. Just bumped it enough to cause a disturbance there on the table. I thought that was funny. It's a silly thing that happens. I'm sure it's happened to everybody, but it hadn't happened to me in a while, and when it happened, I was like, I'm going to include this flight, just because it's just funny. And, well, I like to put things that are funny or joyful or, you know, anything. If you'll have a laugh at my expense, I'm good with that, because this should all be fun. My time doing this should be fun. Your time doing this should be fun. It should be fun all the way around. So I like to try to find funny bits to include in the videos, and this one happened right at the beginning of a flight. Faster flight time with a 650. Oh, by the way, the winds are very modest. On the slow wind day, they were saying 10 to 12 miles an hour, but it felt much more calm than that. I put that in my notes. On this day here, they were saying 12 to 15. But again, the winds weren't really breaking through all that much between the houses and the trees and stuff like that. It was a really nice day to fly. The sun's a little bit low, so my notes don't say this, but I'm pretty certain this is a late afternoon weekend flight. But again, the flight times with the 650 are 2 minutes and 40 seconds to 2:45. I don't know why I wrote both numbers, but I did this particular time. And also going faster with the 850. I got 4 minutes in this sort of flight style. So when I say faster, I'm meaning kind of what you're looking at right now. So that would be for anyone who maybe hasn't seen one of the videos before. But, you know, it's as much as I prefer open propped for outside flight, it is pretty ridiculous how much better Cinewhoops have gotten since they came out. Because they were, man, what's the term, a flying potato or a flying pizza box? You were lucky to get any sort of reasonable footage out of these things. Now we're flying HD video systems, and you can freestyle them or race them, and they just fly really, really well, pretty much across the board. I don't know one company that's doing a significantly more poor job than another. The only thing, this kind of off the top of my head, this isn't a full topic about a video, but I think GepRC has had 2 of them that needed a little bit of a tuning tune-up because it had that zero throttle waggle. The Cinebot 30 is one that comes to mind. I actually posted a second video about that one where through some tips that I took from Brandon Beans and others probably increased the throttle linearization in order to take that waggle at zero throttle out. All right, we come down 243, kind of as I reported right there in the middle, 240, 245. Battery bumped up, could have flown a few more seconds, 3.57 now on the voltage. I had some minor flight issues as far as crashes. I shouldn't call them flight issues. That makes it sound like, you know, something with the tune or the configuration. Flight issues with the pilot. He did crash a few times, and I was very pleased that, you know, whenever I have plastics, and I know we've been seeing these types of plastics for quite a while, but it still gives me pause that I'm like, man, because I don't like to break things, but I think it's better that I fly it and break it. You know, it was sent for review for free, so it didn't cost me anything, than for you to not know whether you might be able to get away with some crashing too. Now, of course, when it comes to crashing, we all crash differently. No 2 crashes are the same like a snowflake, but you know, if I have some crashes with all the quads on the channel, then I can be relatively somewhat assured that it shouldn't break in the same style or types of crashes that I have. But of course, you know, if you go diving through a cement silo and you plow into the bottom, much different crash scenario. But most of my tumbles were in the grass, of course, because I am pretty much surrounded by grass. Even with the pool, I get a lot of questions about the pool being open. That is a blue auto cover. It's mechanized, it's powered, and we only have that open when we're actually using the pool. So the rest of the time it stays closed. That was a mandate of mine about getting the pool is no auto cover, no pool, and it's kept under lock and key. Unfortunately, we had a family tragedy in a pool many, many years ago, and that has stuck with me. So in order to make sure that my children are safe and that neighborhood children don't get in the pool on accident, or family pets or wild animals, no one gets in that pool unless there is someone with a key around and rolls it back. So sorry, that was an aside for the whole pool scenario, but that's another question that came up. I might have had too much caffeine today. Really, when it comes to adding your own O3, it's pretty straightforward and simple. I really like this style when it comes to the modularization of everything, because oftentimes when you get all these plastics, then when you come to repairs or disassembly, you have to take so much stuff off to get to that one thing you need to plug back in or check a solder joint or what have you. Whereas it's, you know, to get the O3 out, you're just taking out these screws along the front. That takes the antenna pieces off too. Those do secure down to this. But this whole thing, when we take out those 4 screws, will lift out, and then you just have the plug. For your GPS, it's just those 2 screws, and of course you can see the plug right there. If you need to get access to your board, it might not be great access, but it is some level of access. You've got these 4 screws, and I took it apart so I could take a picture to show you what that looks like. Of course, the receiver is attached to the plate that we do remove out of the bottom. So when it comes to the repairability, it's all pretty I think reasonable, and because of their modular design, if you wanted to add a GPS, or in the case of an 03, and this is specific to 03, I'm sure you could probably DIY a different video system in there if that was what you wanted to do, but it's designed for 03. It's going to fit nicely, and they use rubber gasket on both sides to make sure that we don't get those little micro vibrations. I don't know how much those things actually help, or if we just, at some point, a trend started and now they're all doing it. I kind of wonder that myself. But it seems pretty straightforward. You have a battery mat here. It's not very sticky. It's going to be, you know, a traditional battery mat. In some regards, I like that the XT30 or the power lead is bolted down. I do appreciate the fact that it's in carbon fiber. That will certainly help. I always worry about it being confined in the size of battery. Like these longer ones, they just don't work. You can't, they're going to have to be mounted sideways, so you're going to have to change the orientation of these two bars to where they're running this way, and then your battery goes this way, which is fine. But when you do that, you're very likely going to need a battery extension. And I think it actually says this on the SpeedyBee website. So when you get your battery out this way, because you don't have a lead to manipulate around, it's bolted down, you're going to need to have an extension, or, you know, a lead lengthener sort of adapter here for your batteries. Because, I mean, even if, I think this, oh, no, because you got to turn it. There's potential, this particular battery might work, but it's going to be pretty taut. I wouldn't do it that way, but that's something to be aware of. So you may have to get your soldering iron out. I'm not sure where you can buy an extension like that. Maybe SpeedyBee lists them. I haven't gone looking for those. I would just make one myself. Of course, this carbon fiber has got this smooth top layer that they put on it, and that's a sharp look. And then they've got the name B25 and SpeedyBee, the brand, printed on there as well. Nothing branded on the bottom. I like the lights. I do think that if you are flying in lower light and you have the lights on, you're very likely going to see them in your footage, especially if you fly near anything, because I think they call them cob lights. They're pretty bright. It's probably best suited for those chase scenarios in lower light or parking garages. But it's a fun thing. And if you're trying to show somebody a quad and how they fly and what you can do with them without having a second pair of goggles, the LED lights are a factor. I've had neighbors tell me that they can see the quad a lot better during the day when they have LED lights on them. So that might also be a factor for you. As far as the price goes on this, of course, depending upon which receiver, that always is a factor in the pricing. The SpeedyBee Bee25 looks like, let's see, the TBS version is listed without. So it's listed without an 03 with the TBS version at $209. ELRS is $189 without the 03. It looks like with the 03, so if you have like the goggles 3 and the controller 3, I think the plug and play version would be what you wanted. But of course, I don't have those to test, so I can't validate that for you. But my understanding is that would be what you want, and as it goes, and the price goes up to $359.99. So it goes on up all the way up to $380. The aluminum alloy upgrade kit is $899. I wouldn't suggest the aluminum alloy kit. I think the plastics are going to be more robust in crashing, and the aluminum is going to add weight, and it's also going to bend in crashes. I don't know that for a fact, but typically aluminum is going to bend. Now you can bend it back, but I would rather have the plastics that snap back to shape and are lighter. Lighter quad, longer flight time, more agility when it comes to the faster flight. So I just wouldn't buy the alloy or aluminum alloy head upgrade kit. I don't think that's a kit worth buying unless you just like the way you look, the way it looks. Excuse me. So that is the SpeedyBee Bee25 or Bee25 Power. I'll put links to wherever I can find it down in the video description. If you are interested, you can click one of those. Some of those will be affiliate links. Some of them won't. I'm not tied to that sort of stuff. I'll link it wherever it's available, whether it's a U.S. shop or otherwise. You know, you need to spend your money where you can spend your money and where you want to spend your money, not me force feeding where you can spend your money. But if you do have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise about the Bee25, power? Please let me know in the comment section below. I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching.